In the annals of ancient history, few figures shine as brightly and fiercely as Gorgo, Queen of Sparta, renowned for her intelligence, courage, and unyielding devotion to her city-state. Gorgo's legacy endures as a testament to the power of wisdom and resolve. Born into the austere and disciplined world of Sparta, she was no ordinary woman, the daughter of King Cleomenes I. She inherited not just royal blood but a sharp mind and a bold spirit that set her apart even in a society that valued strength above all else. In an era dominated by war and male leadership, Gorgo carved a unique path. She was a queen, a wife, a mother, and above all, a guardian of Sparta's ideals. Her marriage to Leonidas I, the legendary warrior king who would stand against the Persian Empire at Thermopylae, was a union of equals. Together, they embodied the Spartan ethos of discipline, sacrifice, and unyielding loyalty to their people. Gorgo was more than a silent observer of history. She was an active participant. Her quick wit and decisive actions, such as uncovering a secret plot against Greece, demonstrated her critical role in the survival of her homeland. Yet, her influence extended beyond politics. As a mother and mentor, she shaped the next generation of Spartan leaders, ensuring the endurance of her people's way of life. This is the story of Gorgo, a woman whose life intertwined with some of the most pivotal events of the ancient world. Her legacy challenges the notion that history's greatest figures must always stand at the forefront of battle. Sometimes, the sharpest weapons are words, and the strongest shields are wisdom and foresight. The winds of Sparta carried the weight of discipline and the echoes of glory. In this unforgiving land of warriors, a child was born who would one day carve her name into the annals of history, not with a blade but with her wit and wisdom. Gorgo, the daughter of King Cleomenes I, was no ordinary Spartan. Her life began amidst the stark landscapes of Laconia, where mountains loomed like guardians and the Eurotas River flowed as the lifeblood of a society forged in iron and resilience. From her earliest years, Gorgo was immersed in a culture that demanded excellence. Unlike the sheltered lives of women in other Greek city-states, Spartan girls were raised to be strong, both in body and mind. The state recognized that the strength of Sparta rested on every citizen, male and female, and Gorgo was a product of this ethos. While boys were sent to the brutal Agoge training camps to become warriors, girls were taught to manage households, speak boldly, and maintain the Spartan lineage. For Gorgo, these lessons were not burdens but gifts, tools that she would wield with precision in the years to come. As the daughter of King Cleomenes, Gorgo's life was intertwined with the machinations of power from the start. Cleomenes was a polarizing figure, a ruler known for his cunning and ruthlessness. Under his reign, Sparta navigated the turbulent waters of Greek politics, forging alliances and repelling enemies with equal fervor. Gorgo grew up observing her father's deft maneuvers, learning not only the art of leadership but also the perilous balance required to maintain it. Her intelligence became evident early. One of the most striking examples occurred when Gorgo was still a child. A Persian envoy arrived in Sparta, bearing lavish gifts and promises of wealth in exchange for Spartan allegiance to the mighty Persian Empire. Cleomenes, ever the shrewd ruler, entertained the envoy's overtures, but it was Gorgo who saw through the veneer of diplomacy. With a boldness rare even among Spartan men, she warned her father against the dangers of succumbing to Persian bribes, stating that wealth bought with dishonor would bring ruin to Sparta. Cleomenes heeded her advice, dismissing the envoy and solidifying Sparta's defiance. This act of courage and insight would foreshadow Gorgo's pivotal role in her nation's destiny. While her father's actions shaped her early years, Gorgo's mother played an equally critical role in her upbringing. Spartan women, unlike their counterparts in Athens or Corinth, were encouraged to speak their minds and take active roles in society. They managed estates, raised warriors, and served as the backbone of Spartan resilience. Gorgo's mother, though less prominent in historical accounts, undoubtedly influenced her daughter's understanding of the dual roles required of Spartan women, to be steadfast pillars of the household and silent strategists in the affairs of men. As Gorgo entered adolescence, her education expanded. She trained in gymnastics and athletics alongside her peers, ensuring her body was as formidable as her mind. Spartan girls were expected to bear strong children, and physical fitness was a cornerstone of their upbringing. Gorgo excelled, mastering the disciplines that defined Spartan life. Yet, it was her intellect that set her apart. She listened intently to her father's council meetings, absorbing the intricacies of Spartan governance and diplomacy. Her sharp mind earned her respect, and she became a trusted confidant of Cleomenes, a remarkable position for a young woman in a world dominated by men. The political climate of Gorgo's youth was fraught with tension. Greece was a fragmented land of city-states, each vying for dominance. Athens and Thebes schemed, Corinth traded, and Sparta, ever the warrior state, prepared for war. Cleomenes' rule was marked by both triumphs and controversies, including his involvement in the overthrow of tyrants in other cities and his strained relations with fellow Spartans. Gorgo witnessed the burdens of leadership firsthand, understanding that even the most powerful rulers were not immune to betrayal and dissent. These lessons shaped her pragmatism and steeled her resolve. One of the most formative moments in Gorgo's early life was the rise of Persia as a looming threat. The Persian Empire, vast and seemingly unstoppable, had begun its westward expansion, absorbing city-states and subjugating lands with ruthless efficiency. Greek unity was fragile, and Sparta, with its unrivaled military, found itself at the forefront of resistance. Gorgo's childhood unfolded against this backdrop of impending conflict, her thoughts inevitably shaped by the knowledge that survival demanded vigilance and sacrifice. Despite the challenges, Gorgo's life was not devoid of joy. Spartan culture, though austere, valued camaraderie and the bonds of family. Gorgo shared a close relationship with her father, who recognized her potential and encouraged her growth. Cleomenes, though a stern and often enigmatic figure, took pride in his daughter's intelligence. Their bond was a testament to the unique dynamics of Spartan society, where women, though not equals in battle, were seen as indispensable partners in the preservation of their way of life. As Gorgo approached adulthood, her reputation as a woman of exceptional character began to spread. She was admired for her beauty, though Spartan standards of beauty were rooted in health and strength rather than delicate features. More importantly, she was respected for her wisdom. Prospective suitors, both within and beyond Sparta, sought her hand. But Gorgo was not destined for an ordinary marriage. Her path would lead her to Leonidas, a man who shared her vision for Sparta and whose destiny would be forever entwined with hers. The union of Gorgo and Leonidas marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life, one that would see her influence extend far beyond the halls of the Spartan palace. Together, they would face the greatest challenges of their time, forging a partnership that exemplified the ideals of Sparta: strength, loyalty, and unyielding dedication to their people. In the shadows of Sparta's mountains, where the past and future met, Gorgo stood poised to become not just a queen but a legend. Her journey as a daughter of Sparta had shaped her into a figure of rare intellect and resilience, ready to face the trials that lay ahead. This was only the beginning of a life that would leave an indelible mark on history, a life defined by courage, wisdom, and the unshakable belief that the Spartan way of life was worth every sacrifice. In the harsh, unyielding land of Sparta, marriages were not merely unions of love but alliances forged for the betterment of the state. Gorgo's marriage to Leonidas was no exception, though it carried an element of destiny that transcended mere politics. The daughter of one king and the wife of another, Gorgo found herself at the center of a partnership that would shape Sparta's legacy and secure its place in history. Leonidas was no ordinary Spartan. As a younger son of the Aegead royal house, his path to the throne was far from guaranteed. Like all Spartan boys, He underwent the grueling agoge training system, a rite of passage designed to transform boys into warriors and citizens of unparalleled discipline and strength. Leonidas excelled in the agoge, earning the respect of his peers and instructors alike. His resilience and leadership qualities set him apart, even among Sparta's elite. By the time he reached adulthood, Leonidas had cultivated a reputation as a man of both physical prowess and unshakable integrity. When Leonidas and Gorgo were wed, their union was one of equals. Gorgo brought to the marriage her sharp intellect, political acumen, and an unyielding commitment to Spartan ideals. Leonidas, with his warrior's discipline and emerging leadership, complemented her perfectly. Together, they embodied the dual pillars of Spartan society, strength and wisdom. While Leonidas prepared for the battlefield, Gorgo governed their household with precision, ensuring that every aspect of their lives adhered to the strict codes of Spartan law and tradition. Their marriage began during a turbulent time for Sparta. King Cleomenes I, Gorgo's father, was embroiled in controversies that would ultimately lead to his downfall. Accusations of bribery and erratic behavior tarnished his reputation, and his enemies within Sparta sought to undermine his authority. Gorgo watched these events unfold with a mixture of sorrow and resolve. She understood the precarious nature of power and the necessity of loyalty, lessons that would serve her well in her role as Leonidas' partner and confidant. Leonidas' rise to power was gradual but inevitable. When his half-brother, King Dorius, died without an heir, Leonidas became the next in line for the throne. By this time, his marriage to Gorgo had solidified his position within Spartan society. Together, they represented the strength and stability that Sparta desperately needed during a period of internal strife and external threats. Their relationship was one of mutual respect and shared purpose. Gorgo, unlike many women of her time, was deeply involved in matters of state. Leonidas valued her counsel, often seeking her advice on political and diplomatic issues. This partnership was emblematic of the unique dynamic between Spartan men and women. While men dominated the battlefield, women played a critical role in preserving the home front and shaping the next generation of warriors. One of the most remarkable aspects of their marriage was the balance they struck between duty and personal connection. Though their lives were defined by the demands of Sparta, Leonidas and Gorgo found moments of intimacy and understanding that transcended the rigidity of their society. These moments were rare but precious, serving as a reminder of the humanity that lay beneath their Spartan exteriors. As Leonidas ascended to the throne, Gorgo's role as queen expanded. She became a visible symbol of Spartan resilience and determination, embodying the virtues that the state prized most: loyalty, discipline, and strength. Her presence at Leonidas' side was not merely ceremonial. She actively participated in the administration of the state, advising her husband on matters ranging from foreign policy to domestic affairs. Gorgo's influence extended beyond the palace. Her reputation as a wise and formidable woman inspired other Spartan women to embrace their roles as equal partners in the preservation of their city-state. She encouraged them to speak their minds, manage their households with precision, and instill Spartan values in their children. In doing so, she helped to ensure that Sparta's unique way of life would endure. The union of Gorgo and Leonidas was a partnership forged in the crucible of Spartan society, where every action was a testament to their shared commitment to the state. As their marriage progressed, they became more than husband and wife. They became symbols of the indomitable Spartan spirit. Together, they stood as a bulwark against the challenges that loomed on the horizon, ready to face whatever trials the gods or fate would send their way. What neither of them could have foreseen was the ultimate test that awaited them, a test that would define not only their lives but the very legacy of Sparta itself. The shadow of Persia was growing, and the choices they made as a couple would soon resonate across the centuries, shaping the destiny of their people and securing their place in the eternal memory of history. As the wife of King Leonidas and the Queen of Sparta, Gorgo stepped into a role that demanded much more than ceremonial grace. In the militarized society of Sparta, where every citizen's life revolved around the city-state's survival and dominance, the queen's duties extended far beyond the confines of her household. For Gorgo, this was not a burden but an opportunity, a chance to shape the state's future while standing steadfast as both a pillar of strength and a beacon of wisdom. Gorgo's responsibilities as queen were diverse and multifaceted. On the domestic front, she managed the royal household with efficiency, ensuring that every resource was utilized to uphold Spartan ideals of discipline and frugality. Unlike the lavish courts of Athens or Persia, Spartan royalty lived modestly, reflecting the egalitarian values of their society. The queen's household was expected to embody the same austere principles that governed every Spartan citizen, and Gorgo excelled in this regard. Her leadership by example reinforced the cultural ethos that placed the welfare of the state above personal comfort or luxury. Beyond the home, Gorgo's influence permeated Spartan society. As the wife of a warrior king, she was intimately involved in the social and political life of the city-state. Spartan women were unique among Greek women in their relative autonomy and active roles in society, and Gorgo stood at the apex of this dynamic. She participated in discussions about governance and strategy, offering insights that often proved invaluable to Leonidas and the Spartan council. Her intellect and clear-eyed pragmatism earned her the respect of her peers, both male and female. One of Gorgo's most remarkable contributions to Spartan society was her role in maintaining morale and unity during times of crisis. Sparta's rigid social structure and militaristic focus meant that dissent could quickly erode the city's foundations. Gorgo, with her keen understanding of human nature and her deep commitment to the Spartan cause, worked tirelessly to ensure that the bonds of loyalty and discipline remained unbroken. She inspired other Spartan women to embrace their roles as guardians of the home and the moral backbone of their society, emphasizing that their strength was as vital to Sparta's survival as the spears of its warriors. Gorgo's role as an advisor to Leonidas was another critical aspect of her queenship. Unlike the secluded wives of Athenian statesmen or Persian nobles, Gorgo was an active participant in her husband's decision-making. Leonidas valued her counsel, often seeking her perspective on matters of statecraft and diplomacy. This partnership was a testament to the unique dynamic of Spartan marriages, where mutual respect and shared purpose created bonds that transcended traditional gender roles. Gorgo's insights were not merely tolerated, they were actively sought and implemented, reflecting the high regard in which she was held. Her political acumen was most evident in her dealings with foreign emissaries and diplomats. Gorgo had an uncanny ability to read people, discerning their true intentions beneath layers of flattery and subterfuge. This skill was crucial in a time when Sparta faced growing threats from both internal rivals and external powers. One notable incident involved a coded warning from a Spartan ally about an impending Persian invasion. Gorgo's quick thinking and ingenuity allowed her to decipher the message, ensuring that Sparta could prepare for the oncoming storm. Her ability to navigate such high-stakes situations solidified her reputation as a queen whose intellect was as formidable as her husband's martial prowess. But Gorgo's influence was not limited to the realm of politics and diplomacy. She also played a vital role in shaping the cultural and moral fabric of Sparta. Her speeches and public appearances emphasized the importance of Spartan values, from discipline and courage to loyalty and sacrifice. She reminded her people that their strength lay not only in their spears and shields, but also in their unyielding commitment to one another and to their shared way of life. Perhaps most importantly, Gorgo understood the power of education and legacy. As a mother, she was deeply invested in the upbringing of her children, instilling in them the virtues that defined Spartan identity. Her teachings emphasized not only physical strength, but also intellectual rigor and moral clarity. She believed that the future of Sparta depended on leaders who could balance the demands of war with the wisdom of governance. And she worked tirelessly to prepare her children for these dual responsibilities. Through her actions and influence, Gorgo redefined what it meant to be a queen in ancient Greece. She was not merely a consort or a figurehead, but a dynamic force in her own right, shaping the destiny of her people with every decision she made. Her legacy as a Spartan queen was one of strength, wisdom, and unwavering devotion to the ideals that had defined her homeland for centuries. As the shadow of Persia loomed ever larger over Greece, Gorgo's role became even more critical. The trials that awaited Sparta would test the resolve of its leaders and citizens alike, and Gorgo stood ready to meet these challenges head-on. Her unwavering commitment to her people and her unyielding belief in the Spartan way of life would prove to be a source of inspiration and strength, not only for her husband but for the entire city-state. The story of Gorgo as a Spartan queen was far from over. Her legacy was still being written, etched into the fabric of a society that valued courage, discipline, and resilience above all else. As the stakes grew higher and the challenges more formidable, Gorgo's role would continue to evolve, cementing her place as one of the most remarkable figures in Spartan history. As the shadow of the mighty Persian Empire crept ever closer to the Greek city-states, the air in Sparta grew heavy with the anticipation of war. The Persian king Xerxes, with his vast armies and insatiable ambition, threatened to subjugate all of Greece. It was during this time of looming peril that Gorgo's brilliance shone brightest, while Leonidas prepared his warriors for the inevitable confrontation. Gorgo found herself drawn into the intricate web of espionage and diplomacy that would determine Sparta's readiness for the coming storm. The tale of the wax tablet remains one of the most compelling examples of Gorgo's cunning and resourcefulness. A Spartan ally, desperate to warn of Xerxes' plans, had sent a message to the Spartan court. However, knowing the dangers of interception, the message was hidden beneath an innocuous layer of wax. When the tablet arrived in Sparta, it seemed blank, a meaningless piece of smooth wax-covered wood. Confusion rippled through the Spartan council as they tried to discern the sender's intentions. Gorgo, observing the situation with her characteristic sharpness, suggested that the wax be melted away. Beneath the layer of wax lay the true message, an urgent warning of Xerxes' intentions to march his massive army through Greece, seeking to crush the resistance of its city-states. This revelation was pivotal. Thanks to Gorgo's insight, Sparta and its allies had the precious time needed to coordinate their defenses and rally their forces. This moment cemented Gorgo's reputation as not only a queen but also a strategic thinker of unparalleled acumen. She understood that wars were not won solely on the battlefield but also in the minds of those who could see beyond the obvious. Her ability to think critically and anticipate the moves of others became one of Sparta's greatest assets as the specter of the Persian invasion grew ever larger. Gorgo's role during this time was not confined to deciphering messages or offering counsel. She actively participated in the diplomatic efforts to unite the Greek city-states against the Persian threat. Though Sparta was known for its insular and often aloof attitude towards its neighbors, Gorgo recognized the necessity of unity. She encouraged Leonidas to work with Athens, Corinth, and other city-states, fostering an alliance that would prove critical in the battles to come. The months leading up to the Persian invasion were a time of frenzied preparation. While Leonidas drilled his troops and honed their already formidable skills, Gorgo turned her attention to the home front. She understood that a divided or fearful populace could undermine even the strongest army. Through public addresses and personal interactions, she instilled a sense of purpose and resilience in the Spartan people. Her words carried weight, not because of her royal status alone, but because they were imbued with the conviction of someone who truly believed in the Spartan way of life. In one particularly memorable address to the Spartan women, Gorgo reminded them of their unique role in the coming conflict. Sparta's strength lies not only in our warriors, but in those who keep the home fires burning, she said. It is our duty to remain steadfast, to raise children who understand the value of sacrifice, and to preserve the values that make us Spartan. Without us, even the bravest warrior cannot succeed. Her words galvanized the women of Sparta, who took pride in their role as the backbone of the state. They managed households, supported one another, and prepared their sons for the trials that awaited them. Gorgo's leadership extended far beyond the royal court, touching every corner of Spartan society, even as Gorgo worked tirelessly to prepare Sparta for the challenges ahead. Her personal life was not untouched by the gravity of the situation. The looming war weighed heavily on her relationship with Leonidas. The couple, bound by mutual respect and love, often found themselves discussing the potential outcomes of the conflict late into the night. Leonidas, ever the warrior, expressed his readiness to lay down his life for Sparta if necessary. Gorgo, though resolute, could not hide her concern, yet she never allowed her fears to cloud her judgment or diminish her support for her husband's decisions. The arrival of the Persian army on Greek soil marked the beginning of a new chapter in Gorgo's life. With Xerxes' forces advancing, Sparta faced the most significant threat in its history. Gorgo, aware of the stakes, worked alongside Leonidas to ensure that every Spartan man, woman, and child understood the gravity of their situation and the importance of their collective efforts. The wax tablet incident and Gorgo's subsequent actions demonstrated a truth that few would dare to acknowledge in her time. The strength of a state was not measured solely by its armies, but by the wisdom of its leaders, both on and off the battlefield. Gorgo's contributions during this critical period were a testament to her foresight, intelligence, and unyielding commitment to her people. As the Spartan warriors prepared to march to Thermopylae, where they would face the full might of Xerxes' forces, Gorgo remained in Sparta, holding the city together with her indomitable spirit. Her role in uncovering the Persian plot and her tireless efforts to unify and inspire her people ensured that Sparta would meet the challenge with the full measure of its strength. The stage was now set for one of history's most legendary confrontations. And though Gorgo would not wield a spear or shield on the battlefield, her influence and decisions would echo through the clash of arms and the pages of history. The Queen of Sparta had proven herself a vital force in the struggle for Greek freedom, a figure whose legacy would endure long after the dust of battle had settled. The morning air in Sparta carried a somber weight as the warriors gathered for their fateful march to Thermopylae. Among them was Leonidas, clad in the crimson cloak that marked him as a Spartan king and warrior. His expression was resolute, his purpose unshaken. Yet, as he prepared to lead his 300 hand-picked warriors to the narrow pass that would soon become their final stand, there was a moment of pause, a moment shared with Gorgo, his queen, his partner, and his equal. The farewell between Gorgo and Leonidas was not one of melodrama or despair. In the Spartan way, it was marked by an unspoken understanding of duty and sacrifice. For Gorgo, this moment was the culmination of years of shared purpose and preparation. She had always known that this day might come. As the wife of a Spartan warrior, and especially as the wife of Leonidas, she had accepted the inevitability of sacrifice long before Xerxes' army cast its shadow across Greece. In the privacy of their chambers, Gorgo and Leonidas exchanged words that would resonate for centuries. "What should I do? Should you not return?" Gorgo asked, her voice steady but tinged with the weight of the moment. Leonidas, without hesitation, replied, "Marry a good man, and bear strong children, for Sparta must endure, with or without me." His words were not dismissive but filled with the Spartan pragmatism that defined their way of life. Leonidas understood that his sacrifice would not be the end of Sparta, and he trusted Gorgo to ensure that their legacy would live on. Gorgo, in turn, drew strength from his resolve, knowing that her role in Sparta's survival was as vital as his. As Leonidas left their home, Gorgo did not weep. Instead, she stood tall, watching him join the ranks of his warriors. Her gaze followed him as he marched through the city, accompanied by the rhythmic sound of shields and spears. The people of Sparta lined the streets, offering silent salutes to their king and his men. Gorgo's presence among them was a symbol of strength, a reminder that Sparta's spirit was unbroken even in the face of overwhelming odds. The days that followed were filled with tension and anticipation. News of the march to Thermopylae spread throughout Greece, and all eyes turned to the narrow pass where Leonidas and his 300 Spartans, along with a contingent of Greek allies, would make their stand. For Gorgo, these days were not spent in idle waiting. She took it upon herself to maintain order and focus within Sparta, ensuring that the city did not falter in her husband's absence. Gorgo's influence extended to the Spartan women, who played a crucial role in the city's resilience. She reminded them of their duty to uphold Spartan values, to raise their children with the same discipline and resolve that defined their warriors. Her speeches were not fiery or emotional but practical and inspiring, imbued with the wisdom of a woman who understood the stakes better than anyone. Meanwhile, the battle at Thermopylae unfolded with both glory and tragedy. Leonidas and his men, vastly outnumbered by Xerxes' massive army, held their ground with unparalleled courage. For 3 days, the Spartans and their allies repelled wave after wave of Persian attacks, their unbreakable phalanx standing as a testament to their training and discipline. The narrow pass worked to their advantage, nullifying the Persians' numerical superiority. Back in Sparta, Gorgo received reports of the battle through messengers and allies. Each update brought both pride and sorrow. She knew that her husband and his men were achieving the impossible, but she also understood that their stand was not meant for survival. It was meant to inspire, and inspire it did. The bravery of the Spartans at Thermopylae became a rallying cry for all of Greece, uniting city-states that had long been divided by rivalry and mistrust. The moment of betrayal came on the 3rd day when a Greek traitor, Ephialtes, revealed a hidden path that allowed the Persians to flank the Spartan position. Leonidas, realizing that the battle was lost, made the ultimate decision to send the remaining Greek forces away while he and his 300 Spartans stayed behind. It was a choice born of strategy and sacrifice, ensuring that their allies could live to fight another day. In their final moments, the Spartans fought with the ferocity of lions, their bodies forming a wall of defiance against the onslaught. Leonidas fell in battle, surrounded by his men, his crimson cloak stained with the blood of both enemies and comrades. The Persians, despite their overwhelming numbers, suffered heavy losses, a testament to the Spartans' skill and resolve. When news of Leonidas' death reached Sparta, it was Gorgo who stood as the city's pillar of strength. She did not succumb to grief or despair, for she understood that her husband's sacrifice had not been in vain. Instead, she channeled her pain into purpose, ensuring that Sparta remained unified and determined in the face of the Persian threat. Gorgo's role in the aftermath of Thermopylae was as critical as Leonidas' actions on the battlefield. She worked tirelessly to support the war effort, coordinating with the Spartan Council and rallying the women of Sparta to maintain the city's strength. Her words inspired not only the Spartans but also the broader Greek alliance, reminding them that Leonidas' sacrifice was a beacon of hope and resistance. The farewell at Thermopylae was not just the end of a chapter in Gorgo's life. It was the beginning of her legacy as a queen who embodied the very soul of Sparta. Through her unwavering resolve and indomitable spirit, she ensured that her husband's sacrifice would not be forgotten and that the Spartan way of life would endure. Thermopylae was a victory of courage over fear, and Gorgo, in her own way, was a vital part of that triumph. The echoes of Thermopylae reverberated across Greece, a battle both tragic and triumphant. The sacrifice of Leonidas and his 300 warriors ignited a flame of unity and resistance against the Persian Empire. Back in Sparta, it was Gorgo who carried the weight of this legacy, ensuring that the spirit of Thermopylae lived on not as a moment of defeat, but as a symbol of resilience and inspiration. The immediate aftermath of the battle was a delicate and dangerous time for Sparta. News of Leonidas' death, delivered by survivors of the Allied forces who had been sent away before the final stand, struck the city like a hammer blow. Yet, the Spartan way of life left no room for despair. Mourning was quiet, private, and brief. Publicly, Spartans were expected to remain composed, their grief channeled into action. No one embodied this ethos more than Gorgo. In the days following the battle, Gorgo took charge of maintaining morale within the city. Her speeches to the Spartan assembly and citizens were measured but powerful, reminding them that Leonidas' death was not an end but a call to arms. "He gave his life for the survival of Sparta," she declared. "It is now our duty to honor his sacrifice by ensuring that our city remains strong, our warriors remain ready, and our people remain united." Her words galvanized the Spartan women, whose role in society became even more critical as the war with Persia intensified. Spartan women were already respected for their independence and their ability to manage households in their husband's absence. But under Gorgo's leadership, they took on even greater responsibilities. She encouraged them to act as stewards of Spartan values, ensuring that the next generation was raised with the discipline and fortitude necessary to carry on the fight. Gorgo also worked closely with the Spartan Council, advising on matters of strategy and resource allocation. Her position as queen and her close relationship with Leonidas gave her unique insights into the state's needs during this critical period. While the men of the council debated military tactics, Gorgo provided perspective on the broader picture: the importance of maintaining unity among the Greek city-states and the necessity of sustaining morale at home. One of Gorgo's most significant contributions during this time was her role in fostering the alliance that had begun to take shape among the Greek city-states. The heroism of Thermopylae had already inspired many cities to join forces against Persia. But the alliance was fragile, plagued by rivalries and conflicting interests. Gorgo, understanding the stakes, used her influence to encourage Spartan leaders to work with Athens, Corinth, and other cities. She recognized that only through unity could Greece hope to withstand the Persian onslaught. As the war progressed, Gorgo remained a steady presence in Sparta, ensuring that the city remained prepared for the challenges ahead. Her leadership extended to every aspect of Spartan life, from overseeing the production of weapons and supplies to ensuring that the city's defenses were maintained. She also worked to preserve the memory of Leonidas and his 300 warriors, commissioning monuments and encouraging poets and storytellers to immortalize their sacrifice. One of the most enduring symbols of this effort was the epitaph inscribed at Thermopylae, which read, "Go tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie," though not composed by Gorgo herself. The sentiment embodied her vision of how Sparta should remember and honor its fallen heroes. It was a reminder not only of their sacrifice but also of the values they had died to uphold. As the Persian War reached its climax, Gorgo's influence extended beyond the borders of Sparta. Her reputation as a wise and formidable leader spread throughout Greece, inspiring other women and men alike. Even those who had once doubted the strength of Spartan women began to see Gorgo as a symbol of what could be achieved when intellect, courage, and resolve were combined. The turning point of the war came with the decisive battles of Salamis and Plataea, where the united Greek forces dealt crippling blows to the Persian army and navy. Though Sparta played a crucial role in these victories, the foundations of success had been laid long before, in the sacrifices at Thermopylae and the unwavering determination of those who remained at home to support the war effort. When the Persians were finally driven out of Greece, Gorgo's role in Sparta entered a new phase. The war had changed her, as it had changed all of Greece. She was no longer the queen standing in the shadow of her warrior king husband. She was a leader in her own right, a symbol of Spartan endurance and the embodiment of its values. In the years that followed, Gorgo worked to rebuild and strengthen Sparta, ensuring that the lessons of the war were not forgotten. She emphasized the importance of unity and discipline, teaching future generations that the strength of a city-state lay not only in its warriors but also in its people's ability to adapt and persevere. Through her actions, Gorgo ensured that Leonidas' legacy was preserved, not as a story of defeat but as a beacon of hope and defiance. The Battle of Thermopylae became a rallying cry for freedom and resistance, its lessons resonating far beyond the borders of Sparta and the shores of Greece. As Sparta returned to a semblance of normalcy, Gorgo's influence began to fade from the public eye, but her impact on the city-state and its people endured. Her wisdom, courage, and leadership had carried Sparta through one of its darkest times, ensuring that it emerged stronger and more unified than ever. Gorgo's legacy was not merely that of a queen who supported her king. It was the legacy of a leader who shaped the destiny of her people and left an indelible mark on history. As the fires of war dimmed and Sparta turned its attention to rebuilding and preserving its legacy, Gorgo's role as a mother became her most enduring focus. Though the scars of Thermopylae lingered in the hearts of all Spartans, life pressed forward, and Gorgo's influence shifted from public leadership to shaping the next generation of warriors and leaders. In the intimate realm of her family, she sought to instill the values that had defined her husband Leonidas and the Spartan way of life: discipline, courage, and an unyielding sense of duty. Gorgo and Leonidas had one recorded son, Pleistarchus, who inherited not only the throne but also the heavy mantle of his father's legacy. As a mother, Gorgo's task was immense. Pleistarchus was still a child when Leonidas fell at Thermopylae, leaving Gorgo to guide him through the complexities of Spartan life and leadership. Her role was not simply to raise a child, but to prepare a king, a leader who could embody the values of his father while navigating the evolving challenges of a post-war Greece. In the Spartan tradition, children were not coddled. Even those of royalty, Pleistarchus, like all Spartan boys, entered the agoge, the grueling training system designed to transform boys into warriors and citizens. While Gorgo ensured he adhered to the state's rigorous demands, she also took it upon herself to provide him with wisdom and guidance that no formal training could offer. Her lessons were rooted in the experiences she had shared with Leonidas, as well as her own sharp insights into politics, diplomacy, and human nature. One of Gorgo's defining traits was her ability to balance Spartan pragmatism with a deep sense of foresight. She taught Pleistarchus that strength was not solely a matter of physical prowess but also of intellectual and moral fortitude. "A king's sword may command respect," she once told him, "but it is his wisdom that earns loyalty." Her teachings emphasized the importance of understanding not just the mechanics of war but also the hearts and minds of those he would lead. Gorgo's influence extended beyond her son. As the widow of a revered king and a queen in her own right, she became a mentor to many young Spartans, both men and women. Her home became a place of learning and reflection, where the lessons of Thermopylae and the values of Sparta were passed down to a new generation. These young Spartans, inspired by her wisdom and strength, carried her teachings into their own lives, ensuring that her impact extended far beyond her immediate family. One of Gorgo's most enduring lessons was the importance of resilience in the face of adversity. She often recounted the story of Leonidas' sacrifice, not as a tale of loss but as a testament to the power of conviction and unity. "Your father stood against the greatest army the world had ever known," she would tell Pleistarchus and others, "not because he believed he would win, but because he knew what was worth fighting for. That is the legacy you must carry." Gorgo's approach to motherhood was deeply intertwined with her vision for Sparta's future. She understood that the city-state's survival depended not only on its warriors but also on the strength of its leaders and citizens. To this end, she emphasized the importance of education, discipline, and a shared sense of purpose. Her teachings were not limited to military strategy or governance. They also encompassed the values that define Spartan identity: honor, sacrifice, and an unwavering commitment to the greater good. As Pleistarchus grew into adulthood, Gorgo's influence became increasingly apparent. Though his reign as king was relatively short and occurred during a time of relative peace, he carried with him the lessons of his mother and father. His leadership reflected the balance that Gorgo had always sought to instill: a combination of strength and wisdom, tempered by the understanding that true power lay in the loyalty and unity of one's people. Gorgo's role as a mother also extended to the broader Spartan community. In a society where women were often tasked with raising future warriors, her example served as a model for others. She encouraged Spartan women to see their roles not as secondary to those of men but as equally vital to the city-state's survival. Through her speeches and personal interactions, She inspired them to take pride in their contributions and to embrace the responsibilities that came with being the backbone of Spartan society. Her influence on Spartan women was particularly profound. In a time when most Greek women were confined to domestic roles, Gorgo's leadership and intelligence demonstrated the potential of women to shape the destiny of their communities. She reminded them that their strength was not merely physical but also moral and intellectual. "A Spartan woman does not retreat," she often said. "She stands firm, for herself, for her family, and for her city." As the years passed, Gorgo's role as a mother and mentor became the cornerstone of her legacy. She had guided her son through the trials of youth and leadership, ensuring that he carried forward the values of Leonidas and the Spartan way of life. She had inspired countless others with her wisdom and resilience, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of her people. In the quiet moments of her later years, Gorgo would reflect on the life she had lived and the sacrifices she had witnessed. She had said goodbye to a husband who marched to his death for the survival of their city. She had raised a son who carried the weight of that legacy, and she had served as a beacon of strength and wisdom in a time of turmoil and change. Through her actions and teachings, Gorgo ensured that Sparta's legacy endured. She understood that the true measure of a leader was not in their victories alone, but in the strength and wisdom they imparted to others. As a mother, a queen, and a mentor, she shaped the future of her city-state, ensuring that the spirit of Sparta would live on in the hearts of its people. Her story, like that of Leonidas and the 300, became a testament to the power of resilience, courage, and unwavering dedication to a greater purpose. As Gorgo entered the later years of her life, her influence on Sparta grew even more profound. Though she no longer sat at the center of political power, her legacy as queen, mother, and mentor echoed throughout the city-state. Sparta had changed since the days of Leonidas and Thermopylae, but the core of its identity, the discipline, courage, and loyalty that defined its people, remained steadfast, thanks in no small part to Gorgo's enduring contributions. In the years after the Persian invasion, Greece entered a period of both triumph and tension. The Greek city-states, having united to repel Xerxes' forces, began to splinter once more as old rivalries resurfaced. Athens, emboldened by its naval victories at Salamis, sought to extend its influence across the Aegean, while Sparta, ever cautious and insular, focused on maintaining its traditional way of life. Amid this shifting political landscape, Gorgo's wisdom and foresight proved invaluable. Though no longer queen in title, her son Pleistarchus now held the throne. Gorgo remained a respected figure in Spartan society. She often advised the council and young leaders, offering insights drawn from her decades of experience. Her understanding of alliances, diplomacy, and the delicate balance of power helped guide Sparta through the complex political dynamics of post-war Greece. One of Gorgo's lasting impacts was her emphasis on preserving the memory of Thermopylae and the lessons it imparted. She understood that the battle, though a tactical defeat, had become a symbol of resistance and unity not only for Sparta but for all of Greece. Gorgo encouraged poets, historians, and orators to immortalize the story of Leonidas and his 300 warriors, ensuring that their sacrifice would never be forgotten. Her efforts bore fruit in the form of Spartan education and cultural practices. Spartan children, both boys and girls, grew up hearing tales of Thermopylae, learning not only about the bravery of their ancestors but also about the values that had defined their actions: loyalty to the state, the importance of collective sacrifice, and the power of unity in the face of overwhelming odds. These stories, passed down through generations, became a cornerstone of Spartan identity, binding the people to their shared history and purpose. Gorgo also worked to ensure that Spartan women continued to play a vital role in their society. Her example as a leader and advisor had already inspired many, but she went further, advocating for the education and empowerment of women. In a culture that valued strength and resilience, Gorgo emphasized that these qualities were not limited to the battlefield. Women, she argued, were the keepers of Spartan values, responsible for raising the next generation and preserving the integrity of the state. Under Gorgo's influence, Spartan women embraced their roles with pride and purpose. They managed estates, supported their communities, and raised children who understood the importance of discipline and duty. Gorgo's legacy as a champion of Spartan women endured long after her time, influencing the perception of women's roles in society and inspiring generations of leaders. One of Gorgo's most enduring contributions to Sparta was her emphasis on unity and adaptability. She recognized that while Sparta's traditions were its strength, rigidity could also be its weakness. Through her counsel and actions, she encouraged the city-state to remain true to its values while adapting to the changing world around it. This balance between tradition and innovation helped Sparta navigate the challenges of the post-war era, ensuring its survival and relevance in a rapidly evolving Greece. As she aged, Gorgo's role in Sparta became more symbolic but no less impactful. She was revered not only as the widow of Leonidas but as a living embodiment of the Spartan spirit. Her presence reminded the people of their shared history and the sacrifices that had been made to secure their freedom. She often walked through the city, her posture straight and her gaze steady, a figure of quiet strength and dignity. To the citizens of Sparta, Gorgo was more than a queen. She was a legend. In her final years, Gorgo reflected on the life she had lived and the legacy she would leave behind. She had witnessed the rise and fall of kings, the devastation of war, and the resilience of her people. She had stood at the side of Leonidas as he prepared to march to his death and had guided her son as he took his place on the throne. Through it all, she had remained steadfast, driven by an unyielding belief in the values that defined her and her city. Her thoughts often returned to Leonidas and Thermopylae. Though decades had passed, the memories remained vivid. The sight of her husband leading his warriors through the streets of Sparta, the whispered words they had shared before his departure, and the reports of his final stand. She took solace in the knowledge that his sacrifice had not been in vain, that it had inspired a people and a nation to endure. Gorgo's death marked the end of an era, but her legacy lived on. Her life had been one of service, not only to her family but to all of Sparta. Through her wisdom, courage, and unyielding commitment to the greater good, she had shaped the destiny of her city-state and ensured that the values of Sparta would endure for generations to come. Long after her passing, Gorgo's name continued to be spoken with reverence. She was remembered not only as the queen who stood beside Leonidas, but as a leader, a mother, and a symbol of Spartan resilience. Her story, intertwined with the history of Sparta itself, became a testament to the power of strength, wisdom, and sacrifice in the face of adversity. In the hearts and minds of her people, Gorgo remained eternal, a queen whose legacy would forever be a part of the fabric of Sparta. Gorgo's legacy endured far beyond her lifetime, etched into the cultural and historical fabric of Sparta and Greece as a whole. Her life exemplified a unique blend of intelligence, courage, and influence, qualities that not only defined her as a queen but also as a leader, a mother, and a timeless figure in the annals of history. As the years passed and Greece entered new epochs of strife, philosophy, and change, Gorgo's story remained a beacon of inspiration. For the Spartans, her memory was preserved in their traditions and teachings. Tales of her wisdom and strength were recounted alongside the valor of Leonidas and the 300 warriors at Thermopylae. Yet her contributions extended far beyond the battlefield and royal court. She became a symbol of what it meant to lead with conviction and intellect, even in a society so firmly rooted in the ideals of martial prowess. In the centuries that followed, historians, poets, and orators often grappled with the idea of Spartan women and their role in history. Gorgo stood at the center of these discussions, an example of a woman whose influence reached into the spheres of politics, diplomacy, and culture. Her actions during the Persian Wars and her guidance of Sparta in its aftermath offered a counterpoint to the often male-dominated narratives of ancient Greece. She was not simply a figure in the shadow of Leonidas, but a powerful force in her own right. Even as Sparta's dominance waned and the city-state faded into the annals of history, Gorgo's story persisted. Her leadership during times of crisis, her role in raising the next generation of Spartan leaders, and her unwavering commitment to the ideals of her people resonated across the ages. She became a figure of both history and legend, embodying the Spartan ethos of resilience, unity, and sacrifice. Modern historians view Gorgo as a figure who defied the constraints of her time. While ancient Greek women were often relegated to the domestic sphere, Gorgo transcended these boundaries, becoming a trusted advisor, a wise ruler, and an enduring symbol of strength. Her story serves as a reminder that leadership and influence are not confined to the battlefield or the council chambers, but can be wielded with equal power through intellect, vision, and the ability to inspire others. As history has shown, the values that Gorgo championed, discipline, courage, and unity, are timeless. They are ideals that continue to resonate in societies around the world, reminding us of the importance of perseverance and collective purpose in the face of adversity. Through her actions and her legacy, Gorgo teaches us that true leadership is not defined by titles or conquests, but by the impact one has on the lives of others and the course of history. In the end, Gorgo's life was not just the story of a queen or a widow, but the story of a woman who stood as a pillar of strength in one of history's most formidable societies. Her wisdom, courage, and resilience shaped the destiny of Sparta and inspired generations to come. As the wife of Leonidas and the queen of Sparta, she was a partner in greatness. As Gorgo, she was greatness itself. Her tale concludes not with her death, but with the enduring spirit of her legacy. Gorgo's life reminds us that the strength of a leader lies not in their victories alone, but in their ability to inspire, to endure, and to leave behind a world shaped by their wisdom and vision. And so, the story of Gorgo, Queen of Sparta, ends as it began, with the whispers of her name carried on the winds of history, a testament to a woman ahead of her time,